Hi family and friends, Carmelamagdalena here, sharing with you a beautiful journey through Fatima before embarking for the Camino de Santiago. After a first restful night at the Casa das Irmas Dominicanas, I got woken up by this beautiful melody. And it came from the same floor where I was. It was such a wonderful start of the day. My goal for this morning was to visit the parish of Fatima on foot. Parish of Fatima is approximately 2.4 kilometers from the sanctuary, or 1.9 kilometers from Casa das Irmas Dominicanas, so it's gonna be a nice morning walk. Let's go! Here is the roundabout that we saw last night during the procession. This Rotonda dos Pastorinos stands at the southern gateway to the sanctuary of Fatima. It marks the beginning of the sacred path, walked daily by the three shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta. In 1916 and 1917, along these very routes, the Angel of Peace and then the Virgin Mary herself appeared to these humble children, calling all humanity to prayer and conversion. This monument honors not just the visionaries, but the profound truth that God chooses the ordinary, dusty roads, simple hearts, everyday faithfulness to break through into history. Every pilgrim who passes through this roundabout walks in the footsteps of children who encountered heaven on earth. But for this morning, my route will be headed to the parish of Fatima. ALJUSTREL, by the way, is where the three shepherd children were born and lived. As I was headed to the parish church, I decided to look also for a stone that I want to bring with me for the Camino Frances. Don't forget to bring yours! And finally, I am here. This parish church stands as the spiritual foundation of Fatima, the place where grace was quietly at work long before the world knew the name. Here, in this humble stone sanctuary, three shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, received their formation in faith. They knelt before the Blessed Sacrament in the darkness of the church, their young hearts ablaze with love for Christ. While doing some reflections here, the church bells rang. In 1919, Francisco and Jacinta received their first Holy Communion here. Jacinta wept with such intensity that the priest asked why she cried. She simply answered, "I love Jesus so much. I want to die and go to heaven to be with him." 2 years later, she did. This church is where faith preceded the miracle. The apparitions did not create the seer's devotion, they revealed it. The three children were already consecrated to Christ through the sacraments, already living lives of prayer and sacrifice, already burning with supernatural love when the Angel of Peace first appeared to them. Today, pilgrims come to this parish church to touch the very stones where the visionaries prayed, to kneel where they knelt, to understand that Fatima's message begins not with visions, but with the Eucharist. Not with signs and wonders, but with a child's simple radical love for Christ. This church teaches us ordinary faith, sustained in silence and fed by the sacraments, is the soil in which miracles grow. parish church of Fatima's interior features a good deal of marble and is surprisingly large. The baptismal font in which the 3 shepherds were baptized is just inside by the door on the left side, along with the commemorative plaques. The art and architecture is beautiful. The parish cemetery is just across the street from the church, and the Marta children were first buried there. In 1951 and 1952, Jacinta, then Francisco, were interred at the Cova da Iria in the new basilica as it was being built. This simple yet dignified church in ALJUSTREL remains a sacred place where the 3 chosen messengers attended Mass with their families and neighbors.
Em nome do Pai, do Filho e do Espírito Santo.
Eternal Father, I offer Thee the most precious blood of Thy divine Son, Jesus, in union with all the Masses said throughout the world today, for all the holy souls in purgatory, for sinners everywhere, for sinners in the universal Church, those in my own home and within my family. Amen. While at the cemetery, I decided to look for where Jacinta, Lucia, and Francisco's parents were buried. But I was unsuccessful until I was about to leave. I was standing by a shade when I told my guardian angel I could not find them, and the first direction I turned to was this. I did not realize that I stopped and stood right beside the burial place of the people who raised saints. And it is also where the area where Saints Jacinta and Francisco were interred before moving their earthly remains to the Basilica of the Most Holy Rosary. Now it is time to walk to ALJUSTREL, the hamlet where heaven touched earth. ALJUSTREL was a small rural hamlet in central Portugal near Fatima, about 2 kilometers from the Cova da Iria, or the Cove of Irises, where the 3 shepherds witnessed the apparitions of Our Lady beginning May 13, 1917. ALJUSTREL was an isolated village of simple stone houses, home to shepherding families who lived close to the land. Lucia dos Santos lived there with her family, as did her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Marto, whose homes stood only a short distance apart. The hamlet had no electricity, running water, or modern amenities. Life centered on shepherding flocks, daily labor, and the rhythm of the church calendar. In 1917, ALJUSTREL was untouched by the industrial world. The 3 shepherd children who would receive the apparitions were ordinary village children. Lucia was 10, Francisco 9, and Jacinta 7. They tended sheep together in the surrounding hills and pastures. The First World War raged across Europe, but ALJUSTREL remained a pocket of rural Portugal, where faith and simple living were the substance of existence. After the apparitions and once the apparitions became known, ALJUSTREL became a place of pilgrimage. The homes of the visionaries attracted thousands seeking to understand what had happened. Today, the houses where the children lived are preserved and open to visitors, standing as testimony to the moment when the Mother of God chose to speak to the world through humble shepherds in an obscure Portuguese village. I was going through the old items at the saint's house and did not realize I was by myself. But not very long. I noticed the kind, gentle-looking lady standing by the door watching me. I thought there was a closing time, or it was time for a siesta, just like in Spain.
Hola. Finish? Oh, thank you. ¿Cómo está, señora? How are you?
Español? English?
English.
The house where born Francisco Jacinta. Yeah.
That one.
The father and the mother, the move in sea.
Okay.
My grandfather.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you.
My grandfather. My father.
He is your father.
My father. Brother Jacinta and Francisco.
It's an honor to meet you.
Picture a simple stone fence, the kind that makes a boundary between pasture and path in rural Portugal. Behind it, humble shepherd children in 1917 stood for a photograph. In that image, captured after the apparition of Our Lady, Lucia is 10, Francisco is 9, and little Jacinta is 7. Their faces carry the weight of something the world could not yet comprehend. This was not an ordinary photograph. It was a window into poverty and grace. That stone fence held no mystical power. It was simply part of the landscape where 3 children guarded sheep and guarded a secret that would transform the world. The fence stood witness to nothing miraculous that day, but it framed the faces of 3 souls who had seen light brighter than the sun. It captured the moment when the children of Fatima stepped back into an ordinary life, forever changed by extraordinary grace. The fence was common, the children were not. 200 meters from where Francisco and Jacinta lived stood another humble home, the house of Lucia dos Santos. Simple whitewashed walls, a dirt floor, the smell of wood smoke and rural life. This was not a place of grandeur, but a place where heaven broke through. Here in this modest cottage, a girl named Lucia lived with her family tending sheep, saying rosaries, and carrying the weight of a secret the world did not yet believe. The walls heard her prayers. The threshold knew her footsteps as she returned from visions that changed everything. Behind Lucia's house lay a simple well in the backyard, where the second apparition of the Angel of Portugal took place in the summer of 1916. At this well, Jacinta had a vision of the Holy Father. A path from Lucia's house leads to the well of Arneiro, where the angel appeared to the shepherds for the second time. This humble water source, ordinary in appearance, became sacred ground. Years later, at the same place, Jacinta had a vision of the Holy Father priest crying and praying on his knees in a large house. There, kneeling by the well, a child saw the Pope's suffering before the world knew it. Prayer and penance, not stone or circumstance, made this place holy. The Portuguese sun beats down hard as I leave ALJUSTREL just after 2 p.m. on this August day. The heat shimmers off the stone walls lining my path towards VALINHOS. A few meters ahead, a small ice cream stand appears, a welcome refuge from the sweltering afternoon. This lady vendor hands over a cold gelato as I pause in the shade, grateful for the respite. I continued northward, refreshed, the sweetness lingering as I make my way toward the sacred ground where Mary appeared to Lucia and her cousins. 2 kilometers of faith and simple mercy stretched before me in the heat of the day. On August 13, 1917, the 3 Fatima seers, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, were kidnapped by the mayor of Vilanova de Orem. They were interrogated about the secret, threatened with death, and thrown into prison. But they refused to break. Because the children had been seized on the 13th, Our Lady could not appear at the Cova de Iria as planned. So just days later, on August 19th, she came to them at VALINHOS. a quiet hillside only about 500 meters from their village of ALJUSTREL. Just before 4 o'clock, Lucia sensed the familiar signs of heaven's approach, the sudden cooling of the air, the paling of the sun, and a flash of light. A moment later, Our Lady appeared upon a holm oak tree. She told the children she was greatly displeased with the action of the mayor, and that as a result, the miracle promised for October would not be as impressive as originally planned. She stressed the importance of obedience to her requests, the gravity of offending her Immaculate Heart, and the urgent need to pray and sacrifice for sinners. VALINHOS is a powerful reminder: no earthly power, no prison, no tyrant, no threat can silence heaven's voice. Leaving VALINHOS behind, the path winds gently through the quiet Portuguese countryside, past low stone walls, silvery olive trees, and the soft ochre hills of the Sierra de Aire. It is a walk of barely 10 to 15 minutes back toward the village of ALJUSTREL, and then just beyond it, up the slope of a rocky knoll the children simply knew as Cabejo, the place of the head. Two favorite grazing areas were the hillside facing ALJUSTREL, near an outcropping called Loca do Cabejo, and the Cova da Iria at some distance beyond Fatima. This was the children's world, humble, quiet, unhurried. They knew every stone and every shadow on that hillside. It was here at the Loca do Cabejo that heaven first moved toward Fatima, not with Our Lady but with an angel. In the spring of 1916, a year before the appearance of Our Lady of Fatima, God sent an angel 3 times to prepare the 3 children to whom Our Lady would soon appear. On the spring of 1916, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco were sheltering themselves from a fine drizzle at Loca do Cabejo when the angel clearly appeared for the first time. Suddenly, a strong wind shook the trees. Then they saw a resplendent youth of great beauty walking toward them, above the olive grove. He was about 15 years old, and shone like a crystal struck by the rays of the sun. He identified himself simply and powerfully. "Do not be afraid, I am the angel of peace. Pray with me." Kneeling on the ground, he bowed down until his forehead reached the ground. Then he taught them a prayer that still echoes across the world. "My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love Thee. I ask pardon of Thee for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love Thee." In a second apparition that summer, the angel urged them, "Offer God a sacrifice of anything you can, as an act of reparation for the sins with which He is offended, and as a supplication for the conversion of sinners. Draw peace upon your country by doing this. I am its guardian angel, the angel of Portugal." Then came the third and most extraordinary visit. Back at Loca do Cabejo, they rose to see what was happening and beheld the angel bearing a chalice on his left hand. Drops of blood fell into the chalice from a host suspended above it. Francisco and Jacinta had not yet received their first communion, but were communicated with the precious blood from the chalice. This first mystical union with Christ affected the children profoundly, leaving them in a state of joy, silence, and exhaustion. The angel's words were impressed upon their souls like a light that made them understand who God is, how much He loves us and wishes to be loved, the value of sacrifice, and how sacrifice pleases God and converts sinners because of it. The Loca do Cabejo is not a side note to Fatima. It is its foundation. God does not send His mother without first sending a messenger. He does not call souls to conversion without first preparing the soil. From this rocky hollow sheltered by olive trees and oaks, the 3 little shepherds received the angel of peace for the first and third time, in spring and autumn of 1916. Heaven knelt on this very ground before a single child could ask why. At the highest point of the way of the cross, Along the path of the shepherds stands a Hungarian Calvary and the Chapel of St. Stephen. The 14 stations and the chapel were offered by Catholics from Hungary and designed by Ladislao Marek. The inspiration came from 2 Hungarian priests who saw in the message of Fatima a light from God for a people living under communist dictatorship and the persecution of the Church. The stained glass windows represent Hungarian saints, and the 2 large ceiling mosaics are composed of small marble stones depicting the apparition of Our Lady to the 3 shepherds and the delivery of the Hungarian crown of St. Stephen to Our Lady. The path leads us back down to where the sacred walk began, the South Roundabout, where in 1917 there was a pond of dirty water that Jacinta, Francisco, and Lucia used to bring their ship to drink, and from which they drank themselves in a spirit of reparation for sins. 3 children, 1 rocky hillside, a message that shook the world. What is about the small and the hidden that heaven seems to prefer, and what might that be asking of you?